Welcome to Turning Hard Times to Good Times. I'm your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm here flying alone this week. Actually, do not have a guest, but I wanted to come on to talk to you a little bit about Kevin Bamboro and the excellent work that he's doing in helping to educate the market about HydroGraph Clean Power. And Kevin has done an enormous amount of due diligence. He's really dug into this story after becoming convinced that it was something he wanted to own and own like never before, because he really has become convinced that this is a wealth generating opportunity, HydroGraph Clean Power. And for many of the reasons that he's given, and if you want to, I would really like to call your attention to his Twitter account or his X account. It's Bamboro Kevin, at Bamboro Kevin. Go there. He tweets every day, tremendous amounts of information, and he's doing a lot of really heavy duty due diligence. He's gone out to meet the company, the project here in the United States in Manhattan, Kansas. He was there last week, and now he's on his way. Actually has visited the Manchester, United Kingdom, the Geek there, where where the scientists are busy learning how to research and developing different products and the use of this pure graphene that only HydroGraph Clean Power can produce. So I want to point out some of the excellent work that Kevin is doing. That's the main reason I'm talking to you by myself today. I guess I should issue this disclaimer because of the false accusations and innuendo that have been circulating recently, suggesting that myself and Kevin and others, well, myself and Kevin primarily, I guess, are being accused or have been accused of being paid by the company to promote it. That's not true in either case. And we're not, either are we pumping and dumping. Yes, Kevin owns a large number of shares. I own quite a few less, but I am a shareholder. So I am biased. I do want to see the stock go up. I want it to go up because of its fundamental values, not because of any pumping. But I do truly believe that HydroGraph Clean Power is a story that you should really make an effort to understand. There is a learning curve, and that's why Kevin has been so valuable. He has gone out and done a lot of the hard work. He's, as I said, visited the company in the project's manufacturing facility where the Hyperion units are creating HydroGraph's graphene. And then he went to Manchester, UK to visit the Geek, where the researchers are developing products that fit for different industrial needs. So that disclaimer out of the way, I'd just like to point to a couple of things on Kevin's Twitter account. That's Bambrough, Bambrough, Kevin, is where you can find him on his X account. August 19th, he provided some insights into why HydroGraph's graphene is essential for a host of military applications. And on August 20 and 21, he visited the Manhattan, Kansas facility, and there are some videos and a lot of information there from that visit that you can partake of at his on his X site. So on the 26th of August, he traveled to England and then to Manchester, England, to the Geek, and I'd like to read verbatim from what Kevin put on his Twitter account as he was traveling to Manchester, England, presumably from London. And I'm going to quote Kevin here now, and this was August 26th. He said, "I'm tired from the flights to the UK, but I enjoyed 3+ hour train ride with Tom Eldridge, who handles business development for HydroGraph. There are many takeaways and follow-on through thoughts to explore at dinner tonight, but there is no doubt the company and the graphene industry is at the cusp of a major inflection point. HydroGraph had to solve not just the problems with quality and consistency, but it had to change the way their customers explore innovation. This was something Dr. Chris Sorensen explained as well, but I didn't fully understand at the time. Companies exploring graphene enhancements over the past decade were as disappointed as investors. Garbage graphene didn't deliver the improvements they hoped for, and the investment for marginal benefits, and inconsistencies just didn't make sense. Both Tom and Chris have now explained that customers typically didn't understand how to even experiment properly with their graphene, and the process had been more of a trial and error methodology, building on what they had learned with previous experiments with other graphenes. The big change that occurred in the past year has been to change the interaction to work directly with the client and use science and chemistry to functionalize the graphene and adopt to the client's needs in the application. Amazingly, this is what's now delivering the results that are leading to the adoption of contracting cycle that CEO Christian Brewer has been alluding to in recent interviews. The percentage of loading has been designed based on science by HydroGraph, and the graphene variants modified and adapted so that when mixed with a polymer or fiber, the customer achieves success, making things remarkably stronger and lighter, etc. There's also an important thing to understand. Some companies in each industry are fast adopters and quick innovators, while others are known to be slow movers. In some cases, industries are notorious for wanting to develop IP and then just sit on it because there's a debatable business case in developing a new coating that lasts a decade versus, say, 5 years. This has been a lot to navigate as a startup, but I'm pleased to learn about where they are and discuss strategies that can be used to fast-track development and bring in new potential customers that are clearly interested in driving innovation. At this point, it's clear customers are getting the results, as we've seen in some of the case studies published so far. We are clearly at the point of inflection where industries are about to go from exploring using graphene to absolutely needing it, or risk having their products be the inferior ones in the marketplace. The other thing about to happen is the volume of orders could quickly create a sense of urgency for companies to commit to timelines to receive tonnage. They're going to need to take action and lock in their place in the queue to have Hyperions built to provide the graphene they desire. When HydroGraph looks at its growth plan, it has to develop a fair way to allocate production capacity to book of clients' orders that will soon be burgeoning. The fair way is to build a capacity to deliver product in a first-come, first-served basis. The sooner a company signs and plans to deliver schedule, the sooner Hyperion parts will be ordered and the Hyperion units will be constructed. Given the order book that is in development with 65 to 70 companies that are nearing the development finish line, I see a serious situation. If over the course of the next year or so, as orders come in, the build-out of Hyperion units will quickly be spoken for. This will add to the urgency. The company is going to obviously need to take steps to make sure all the customers are happy and can get product in a time fashion. This will likely lead to a fast tracking of growth internationally by taking the soon-to-be finalized Texas gas plant partnership and repeating it in other countries with other major gas companies, I should say. Tomorrow morning, I am booked to tour the Geek and hope to get some basic footage and take some pictures. Then I'll likely schedule a date and time to do a more comprehensive full interview with some of the people I'm meeting here. That's the end of the quote. On the 26th, as Kevin, those are notes from Kevin as he was traveling up to Manchester in the United Kingdom and his discussion with Mr. Eldridge. Then Kevin did tweet out some things that he learned over his dinner conversation that evening with Tom Eldridge and Suhoa, who spent 7 years at the Geek, leaving another graphene company to join HydroGraph. And I start Kevin's quote. A very insightful dinner as we talked about many products and exciting materials that will be developed and the best strategy models to pursue them. Also, it was made crystal clear how important it was to make some major changes to how business and products are developed with customers. In the early days, it was more trial and error. Companies would require HydroGraph's graphene and compare it head to head with other materials in a particular application. But HydroGraph was disappointed with the results. The reason why is they were overloading HydroGraph's graphene. In some cases, they had to actually completely remove the other carbons previously thought that were needed. What was discovered when HydroGraph's tech team got involved in the production of development was the loading and functionalizing needed to be adjusted. It took time, but HydroGraph's team was able to figure out exactly which graphene variant best suited the customer's need and then adjust the loading dramatically down. Compared to cheap graphene, they could use 1/100th of the amount of other graphenes and get better results. Against the more premium graphenes, that is, it would actually was 1 in 10. So most of the graphenes, it was 1/100th of the amount of graphene that was being used to get the same results. In this case, with the premium, better graphenes that are out there, it was still 1 out of 10, or 1/10 the amount of graphene required to get the same results. So continuing on, Kevin said, this is huge, not just to establish the price point, as often they can sell high margins, and on a usage basis, the customer saves 67%. The bigger issue is that the purity and tiny loading of microparticle size results in the food grade plastic data that puts HydroGraph way ahead of anyone else with advanced testing showing parts per billion in testing. This data is why HydroGraph feels certain they will have a serious big win as time passes, gaining momentum along the way. Kevin continued, he said, I would argue that when we look into the future, due to the environmental and health benefits and energy savings, governments will eventually mandate the various products use graphene. In building materials, it will eventually be a code for major government projects. Also, it could be demanded in various applications due to environmental concerns, like pouring concrete near water, building dams and piers, etc. That's the end of that quote from Kevin. I would just mention there's some very interesting, lots of interesting information on Kevin's X site. For example, there are videos illustrating the properties of HydroGraph's graphene that you can see there. I guess this was taken from Manchester, England. There's various instruments and machineries that are in the geek that Kevin took pictures of and are available for you to see at his X site. And there's some very important references on Kevin's site. I would say even that yours truly, the interviews that I've done, several of them with Kirstine Brewer, as well as Kevin, and also Carrie Landis, but also the interview that Kevin did with Dr. Sorensen at Kansas State University, and the interview that Kevin did with Kirstine Brewer is extremely good. Also, I would suggest that you see the interview, a very extensive interview with all kinds of business questions asked of Kirsten on the Martin Cagle website. So those are all things I think you can get all of that if you go to Kevin's X, his Twitter file or his X file. There's very detailed explanation as to why HydroGraph graphene is the first to actually make a graphene that is perfect for untold numbers of industrial uses. So Kevin posted an AI-assisted generated AI-assisted question essay that was that he was able to get as to why HydroGraph's graphene stands head and shoulders above everything else. And I'm going to read, this article is titled "The End of the Clump," and you can read this directly on Kevin's website or on the X file. But I'm going to read it to you now. If you'd like to skip that, you can just skip this and go directly to his site. In fact, that would be preferable, no doubt. But in any event, here's what the article is titled, "The End of Clump, How Detonated Form of Graphene Has Unlocked a Multi-Trillion-Dollar Material." The article starts out, "For nearly 2 decades, graphene has been the poster child for technological disappointment. Hailed upon its isolation as a true wonder material, its theoretical properties read like a science fiction spec sheet, a 2-dimensional lattice of carbon atoms, stronger than steel, harder than diamonds, and processing electrical and thermal conductivity that promise to redefine industries from aerospace to energy storage. A multi-trillion-dollar revolution in materials science seemed imminent, yet that revolution never arrived. The immense potential of this Nobel Prize-winning discovery has remained locked away, relegated to laboratory curiosity and niche applications, failing to displace the incumbent materials it was destined to make obsolete." That was the introduction to the article. And it was a very, very detailed article, by the way. So you do need to go, if you're interested in the story, go and read that article. Again, you can access it through Kevin's X site. The article's conclusion, however, is as follows, and I quote, "The current market has failed to grasp the significance of this technological breakthrough. A small cap company holds the patented, validated, scalable solution to the single problem that has held a multi-trillion-dollar industry hostage for 2 decades. This presents a classic, high-conviction, asymmetric opportunity. The industrial world is built on materials, and the ability to fundamentally upgrade the strength, weight, and durability of those materials is one of the most profound value propositions in modern technology. The era of true graphene reinforced materials is no longer on the horizon. It is here," end of quote. Well, I just wanted to put some of this out there for you to see that Kevin is doing splendid work. He's bought a lot of shares. I think he claims to own 18 million shares, hasn't sold a one, despite the fact the stock has gone up 10 times or whatever. And he doesn't plan to, because he sees a vision, an asymmetric opportunity, to quote the article, of something very, very big. I can tell you that Kerry Landis came to me, the nuclear engineer that introduced this story to me, came to me with the same idea. And he knew about it long before Kevin did. As a nuclear scientist, as a nuclear engineer, he was very much aware of the materials that go into, or very much aware, actually, before graphene was even before it was even discovered by the University of Manchester back in 2007 or 2008, something like that. Kerry had read some papers by scientists that had speculated about graphene and what it could do if, in fact, it could be manufactured or discovered. And now it has been discovered. That is, graphene in its purity, as the research scientists, the theoretical scientists, understood it. So Kerry was convinced at the very start, and that's why, in fact, when he was convinced that it was time for me to understand the story, when the commercial applications of it were about to take place, Kerry called me and told me about this late in 2024, and I added it to my newsletter on January 3, 2025, the first opportunity I had in the new year. So there are some of us that have really done a lot of research. Mostly, I would say, outside of the scientific community, Kevin has done more than anybody. He's a quick study, very bright guy, very successful investor, and he's latched onto this thing because he believes it's going to be a huge winner. I don't know that Kevin needs a whole lot of income and money, but he's sure helping a lot of other people in that regard. And I think it's going to be, the company definitely having a higher market cap the ability to raise money, although Kevin has been very helpful in guiding the company in ways that they shouldn't need to do much, if any, dilution of the shareholders, which is very important to those of us who get in early. I'm so used to getting in early in mining stocks and being diluted to oblivion. That happens time after time after time. I don't believe that's going to be an issue with this company. The short sellers, of course, are kind of counting on that probably, and up until the other day. And I might just quickly mention the short sellers. There's a huge amount of short selling that took place not early this week, but the prior week, the first few days of the week. And one of the short sellers had actually put out an article that was full of lies, full of falsehoods, and false innuendo. It was embarrassing because it was obvious, anybody that had done any research at all would know that it was false. And they actually admitted that they had already taken a short position. So they were clearly trying to manipulate the market in their favor. Interesting enough, as I noted, I saw the rates for borrowing HydroGraph shares yesterday was something like 29% per annum. So if you're a legal short seller and you want to borrow the stock and sell it because you have a strong conviction that HydroGraph is phony baloney, that there's nothing to it, well, I guess maybe you could borrow stock at 29% and take that chance. But you better be sure. And in fact, rather than to try to manipulate and use propaganda to get people to see the side of the political equation you would like, or in this case, the commercial side that you would like, you better be sure, and you better be sure. So I would say that it's very likely. Kevin had tweeted that he had had his lawyer contact the CFA and let the CFA know about this short selling report that was egregious. And that seemed to have stopped the short selling, at least for now. Now, should there be short selling? Sure. I think short selling makes perfect sense, but not if you're going to go out and lie and use false innuendo and try to scare people out of what could be, I believe, truthfully, could be a generational wealth creating opportunity. That would be illegal, immoral to do that. And somebody who does that sort of thing most certainly should be prosecuted, in my view. Well, that's about all I have to say. Just wanted to really champion Kevin Bambrough's work. I think he's doing a masterful job in helping people understand. He's really been helpful to me. Kerry Landis, who knows this story inside out from a technical point of view, has given his blessing to Kevin Bambrough, and his blessing to me interviewing Kevin, which you can read, you can see on my YouTube channel as well. And again, that is also, I'm sure, accessible through Kevin's X account. So that's it for now. I do hope to interview Kevin sometime in the near future. By the way, I'm not disinterested in gold and silver mining. I think we are just starting what is going to be the bull market of a lifetime in both of those, in gold and silver. And silver should be the brightest shining star as this thing starts to really pick up some speed. There are all kinds of geopolitical things going on. There are things going on domestically and geopolitically that I think are really extremely bullish for honest money. That is the real money, which is gold. As JP Morgan said, gold is money, everything else is credit. So no, I'm looking forward to having some guests from the mining sector as well join me on my YouTube channel. But that is it for now. Until keep your eyes on the inbox on your Substack for any Substack alerts that I send out concerning future interviews and, of course, articles that I write as well. Until we meet again, goodbye and God's blessings to you.